a part of you starts to come out that you didn't even realize was there. And that's that ego. Your ego starts to show up when you start to operate in desperate energy. Your ego starts to control the outcome. And honestly, it starts to shift the outcome because you are operating from a desperate space that's not healthy. And because you don't want to go through the process, you start to become someone different and change the whole direction of what the goal is supposed to be. Welcome back into Behind the Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Danielle J. Martin, and welcome into this new edition of Mindset Monday. You guys, we have hit February, finally, right? At first, I was a little worried. I thought to myself, this is the longest month of January. We made it. We're in February. We are moving along. Before we dive in, I want to ask you, how are you, my friend? How are you feeling? Are you excited about this month? Are you feeling energized? Or are you kind of just like, to be honest, Danielle, I'm just here? Whatever you're feeling, I hope you tap into that and really ask yourself, how am I going to maneuver in this month? What am I going to do? What are my goals? My goal for you is to walk you through each month of the year. Asking you, how are you? Checking in, seeing if you are really accomplishing the goals that you have set out for yourself, the ones that you have written down earlier this year. I'm going to constantly be reminding you of what you said. Okay? I warned you, I'm that friend that keeps keeping you accountable for what you said. So, I just want to check in because I know this is the time. This is the right time where you should be asking yourself, how are we feeling? What are we going to do this year? What are we going to do this month? Okay, let's take it 1 month at a time. But my goal is to check in, make sure you're on track. And if you're not, it's okay. I'm here to get you back on track. Okay. And so as we are diving into this week's episode, you may be wondering, what are we talking about today? Well, it's a very important episode, as I say every week. But today we're going to be discussing the concept of desperate energy and how to not have desperate energy as you are moving forward, as you are striving towards your goals. I want you to pause and ask yourself, how am I feeling? Am I operating out of a space of authenticity, of abundance, of realness, right? Like, am I really operating in truth? Or am I operating in a space of desperate? Or am I operating in a space of really like trying to force the flow of things? Trying to make things happen even though they're not supposed to happen right now? Which flow am I operating out of? I think it's a very important question, and it's a very important concept to discover because desperate energy is something that we all as humans tap into without even realizing. So I want to ask you, have you ever felt like you were in a space, or have you ever been in a time in your life where you felt the need to rush things? Have you ever felt like you needed to pressure the outcome of things? Let's take cooking, for example. I'll put myself in the hot seat. There has been a time where I have rushed the process of cooking. I wanted to get to my work because I was, just getting home from work, my full-time job. And I wanted to already get in my PJs and get into the space in my spot, my comfort zone of my couch, where I'm on my laptop, I'm watching TV, I'm working, I'm eating, right? And this day was a long day. And so if you know anything about working a full-time job and running a business, you don't have that much time from when you get home, entertaining your spouse, to actually having some me time. And so there was a time where I was rushing dinner. And I was like, okay, it's like almost 8 o'clock. Like, come on. I don't even know what I was cooking at the time, but I was rushing it. And obviously, the meal did not turn out great. It was okay, but it was not great. And so, using that analogy to say, when was the last time that you have taken your time to enjoy every second of the moment, to really be present? When have you done that? Are you forcing the outcome of something because you are so in love, or you are so focused on the outcome that you will do anything to get there? You will force it. You will push it. You will do whatever you need to do just so you can get to that specific outcome because your patience is running low. I'll be honest, my friend, and say that I'm probably the most impatient person, was the most impatient person that you could think of, where now I embrace it. As I said last week, I lean into things. And even when things are taking time, even when things are going slower than I thought, I ask myself, and really I ask God, I say, what do you want me to be learning right now? Because the process is slowing down for a reason. This process, this journey that I'm walking through, it's not moving as fast as I thought. So in that moment, I literally check my surroundings. I look at what I'm doing during that time, and I ask myself, what do you want me to be focusing on right now? Because the process is slowing down for a reason. So I challenge you to ask yourself, what are you not focusing on that you need to be focusing on? Anytime we are rushing something, we are rushing the process, we are striving to get to the goal, it's because we are afraid of the process. We are afraid of what the process might do to us. We are afraid of what the process might do to our mindset, to our energy, to our thinking. We are literally afraid of what we might become in the process. And I think that's why sometimes we rush it. Or we're so in love with the desire to have that I don't think we really take time to think about the process of getting there. We don't take time to think about, oh, in order for me to receive what's on the other side of this, I have to go through. But sometimes we want to go around. We want to skip the process because it's easier. It's uncomfortable. But I challenge you to lean in. I challenge you to not skip the process. And I challenge you to not have desperate energy, because there's pitfalls that comes with desperate energy. When you are in a place of desperation, you honestly lose sight of yourself. You start to become the most egoistic person, and you start to operate out of yourself without even realizing it. When you're in a desperate space of wanting something, when you're in a desperate space of wanting to have, it's like money. You start to get greedy. You start to become angry. You start to get irritated. It's like a part of you starts to come out that you didn't even realize was there. And that's that ego. Your ego starts to show up when you start to operate in desperate energy. Your ego starts to control the outcome. And honestly, it starts to shift the outcome because you are operating from a desperate space that's not healthy. And because you don't want to go through the process, you start to become someone different and change the whole direction of what the goal is supposed to be. So Do not try to operate in a space of greed or want or desperation, because you will change the outcome without even realizing it. So with that, where are you in your life? Are you feeling desperate? Where are you feeling desperate to be seen? Where are you feeling desperate to be heard? Where are you feeling desperate to want to have the business a certain way or wanting to achieve the goal at a certain time? Where are you feeling desperate? And then go back and ask yourself, why am I feeling desperate? Why am I feeling this anxiety? Why am I feeling like I'm never going to complete the goal? When the goal is coming, it's just coming slower than you thought. So with that, ask yourself that and challenge yourself to rest and stay still. Because when you are operating in a space of desperation or greed, I promise you, my friend, you start to change so many things about yourself that you become it. And we don't want that, okay? And so the reason why I think this is a very important conversation to have is because desperate energy will take you to multiple things. It will rush the process to where you overlook certain things that you were supposed to see in that space. You will miss the opportunity to grow because you were so worried about rushing the process to get there. You will force it, meaning that you will be in a space of control. And I think I've shared this with you guys where I've been in multiple spaces of control, feeling as if like, if I don't have control, it's not meant for me. Or if I don't have control, it's not going to be the way that I want it to be. And I will say, thank God he has worked on my heart in that area, because having control is not all what it's cracked up to be, my friend. It's not the best thing to have. Like, to be a leader is a lot of work. To be a business owner is a lot of work. And to think that if you were in control of everything, that you would have the power. And that's so interesting, right? We feel like we would have more power by being in control. And if you were to think about it, you would really be having less power being in control, because you are literally changing the outcome of something that is supposed to be a certain way, yet you want to change it in your way. Who says that your way is supposed to be the way? Interesting thought. So I want you to think about the spaces that you are controlling, that you are trying to rush, that you are trying to force. I really want you to gravitate towards those areas and try to let's change those areas about having desperate energy. And let's check ourselves. Let's check our ego at the door, my friend, because having ego is not going to align you with your goals. Having an ego will take you to a place of loneliness, of being in desperation. It will take you to a place where you're going to be left alone, because nobody wants to deal with a person that is egoistic. Nobody wants to deal with a person that is full of themselves. And so that's also bringing me to my next point. Having desperate energy puts you in a space where you are no longer self-aware of yourself, and you are putting your energy on other people. You are changing your surroundings to where people are not going to want to be around you anymore. And so that desperate energy of feeling like I have to have puts you in a space of greed that literally to other people doesn't come off feeling good anymore. Nobody wants to be around you. Nobody wants to trust what you have to say because it's coming from a selfish place. You are no longer thinking about the people. As I say all the time, your mission is not about you. If you are operating in a space where you are only thinking about yourself, you will lose every time. You will miss out on the opportunity on pouring into people. You will miss out on the opportunity of connecting to the right people. You will miss out on the opportunity to touch the lives that need to be changed because you are focused on yourself. When you take you out of it, you will realize the mission is bigger than you. And you will show up even when you don't want to. You will speak even when you don't want to. You will serve even when you do not want to. You will literally be put in places that make you uncomfortable, but you will say, hey, I'm going to show up anyway because my mission says the people need me in this space. Having desperate energy will take you to a space where you will lose out on everything, because you are so desperate to get there. I understand being in this space of wanting to have, of wanting to succeed. It is so hard living in this space right now. Living in our times on social media, when you're scrolling every day, when you're seeing all different types of things on your timeline, I understand it puts you in a very low place depending on who you're following. Now, if you have certain people that you're following and they're just putting you in a space of being depressed and they're putting you in a space of being sad, I would definitely unfollow that. But if you have motivation on your timeline, if you have people that are speaking life into you, if you have people that are succeeding and excelling in a way to it's helpful, then feed that into yourself. Then receive that. But I understand that right now it's so difficult being in a time where everything is on your timeline within 5 seconds. And it's literally giving you an anxiety of feeling like, I wish I was in this space. I wish I was there yet. But I'm telling you, if you just trust the process, and if you just focus on you, you will look up within 6 months, a year from now, and you will see if you were to stay on the process and stay on the path, you'll make it. You will make it. But if you're so worried about consuming more than creating, you will miss out on the opportunity. Stay focused, stay locked in, and get to work. Which brings me to my last point as we wrap up this episode. Trust the flow of things and surrender to what's meant for you. I'll say that again. I want you to trust the flow. Now, hear me carefully when I say trust the flow. I don't mean just literally let go and let God. While I do believe that is a very factual point, understanding letting go and letting God means that you have a part to do too. That means that as you are letting go and surrendering and focusing on the things that matter, you are required to come to the table with the work. You are required to actually come to the table and do your part. It's interesting how sometimes we as believers say, I'm letting go, I'm letting God, and I'm trusting the process because what's meant for me is meant for me. While that is true, you are still required to do the work. You're required to study. You're required to learn. You're required to come to the table with new ideas, to be a student again, to be curious. You are required to come to the table while you wait with work. You have to do your part while God does his part. You have to surrender while also working because he will not give you more than you can bear. However, if you are not prepared for the opportunity, he won't give it to you either. So how are you preparing? Question for you to think about, okay? As we come to a close though, if you are feeling, in all seriousness, you guys, if you're feeling a lot of anxiety, if you're feeling like, I am overwhelmed with my timeline. I am overwhelmed with the things that I'm seeing, the things that I can't do yet. I encourage you, get off. Like, take a break. Nobody says that you have to be on your timeline every day. I ask God all the time, I said, to be consistent is exhausting. However, it doesn't mean that I have to be on all the time. Post and go. Post yourself, get off. You're fine. You do not need to be consuming. I say all the time, if you're consuming more than you are creating, of course it's easy to have desperate energy because you want it so bad that you are willing to do whatever you want to do to get there. But in the end, that outcome is not always going to be pretty. It's not. And so if you were to go back and tap into the passion that you had in the beginning of why you were doing what you were doing, why you were starting that business, why you were starting that podcast, why you were writing that book, why you're opening up that brick and mortar, why you are joining a certain community. If you were to ask yourself in the very beginning why you are doing that, that passion will fire up. That passion will spark up, and it will make so much sense to why you're doing it. But don't get distracted by what you are seeing in front of you. Don't get distracted by what is on your radar, what's on your timeline. Focus on you, because I really do believe that what's meant for you will find you, only if you do the work. That's what I truly believe. I believe that you can go with the flow and literally do all those things you can be as long as you do the work. Put your head down, stay focused, look at yourself, put your blinders on. Honestly, that's the season I'm in, you guys. I'm in a season of like post and go. My blinders are on. And I'm like, I'm peeking a little bit, not gonna lie. Like I'm peeking at what so-and-so is doing, and I'm peeking at that. But more than anything, my blinders are on. And anytime someone brings me something, they're like, oh, you should look at doing this. You should look at doing that. I said, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. But right now I'm focused on this, right? It's okay that people give you suggestions. It doesn't mean that you have to take it. I'm like, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But right now, this is my focus. Right now, this is what I need to do. So with that, I hope that you take this episode and you share it with someone. If you feel like someone is operating out of a space of desperate energy, just remind them, hey, I see you. And I think that if you rush this process, it's not going to be the outcome that you want it. Take your time. Lean in, know that you are going to get there. Know that you don't have to rush because it's already there. It's waiting for you. You just have to go through the process. If you skip it, you will miss out on a huge opportunity that is meant to get you there faster. Just wait. Take your time and just create. Okay, you guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, but if you feel like it resonated with you, I promise it'll resonate with someone else. So don't hesitate to share this episode. And you guys, I'm looking forward to speaking with you next week. Have a great one.